wanted to talk a little bit about and show you guys how and why to regain. Uh, this may be obvious, but it's occurred to me that maybe not everyone is setting themselves up for success in the future, and whether you're trying to still do missions, whether you've just started your DMZ career, or whether you're 4 years deep into it, and are just a gunfighter now. You're a hunter, former mission doer. Um, Regaining is going to be it's one of the best parts of this game. Actually, is starting from scratch. The game is set up for that. Fixate talks a lot about this, but the main gameplay loop is in DMZ is actually dying and resetting and trying to go in and start from scratch. Um, there are many ways to kind of circumvent this core gameplay loop, which is a real shame. With paid bundles, skins that come with gear, whether it be self revives, backpacks, armor plate systems, kill streaks like UAVs. Um, all these things kind of uh, provide unnecessary shortcuts, and I would say unwanted shortcuts the to the regain cycle, the main gameplay loop in DMZ. Uh, this is the first extraction shooter that I have played, and it's definitely the most accessible. It's a free-to-play game, um, free to download, free to play. Uh, all you need is a console that supports it, and that's it. Um, you don't have to spend any money on the game, and I would encourage you not to, because this game it was abandoned by its developers. It was never finished. It's very glitchy and buggy, and today it's full of cheaters and exploiters, as well as people that have spent a whole bunch of real-world currency on the game to give them competitive advantage, and that's just not something I believe in. I don't like the microtransaction model. I don't like pay to win in video games. Um, it's very dishonest, and it's very greedy. But it also just destroys the game. Um, it undermines the efforts that the developers put into this game, and they did put in a lot of effort. You can really see that, just in the map design alone. Al Mazrah is one of my favorite maps that I've ever played of any first-person shooter, of any video game. Uh, it's a very, very well-designed map, and if you want to avoid the glitchers and exploiters, give yourself a little bit more time and space and play Al Mazrah exclusively. Um, don't waste your time on Cheater Island, and don't waste your time on Methamphetamine Bot Island. Uh, there and there are still, there's lots of under the map glitching to be had in these, and I just find that a lot of the cheaters and exploiters play these first two maps. And don't get me wrong, you're still going to get the cheaters, exploiters, campers, what have you, in Al Mazrah, but the map is so large that you have a there is a uh, you can reasonably mitigate that by separating yourself from them. Um, Finding a different team fight, forcing them to come to you. The more you play the game, the better your map knowledge will become, and you can find some spots to defend yourself from. Um, And you can always just reset too. You can take an exfil, reset, and get into a new lobby. And those guys will not be in that lobby. They'll still be in the old game that you just left. So, and you'll have hopefully a better luck in the next lobby. Um, so so the regain cycle is very fun. It's actually very fun to start from nothing. Um, I often when I first get into the game, if it's my first game on of the day and I come in kitted, I feel this kind of extra pressure to not lose my gear. Um, I'm not fully warm. I'm not in a complete PvP mindset. I'm still in a kind of gear fear mentality, and I often feel that I waste um, my first game if I'm kitted, because uh, I'm going to be hunting players. I'm going to be looking for fights, and uh, if I'm fully kitted when I go into that on my first game, uh, I'm not really leveraging my advantage that well. And if you start naked, you don't have any of that pressure on your back. Um, but the reason you would want to regain and to come in kitted is it just makes the game a lot more enjoyable, and it's obviously much easier to start out with a leg up rather than starting from a disadvantage. But the regain is not really about these items, these core items in your bag, your kill streak, your plate carrier, your gas mask, and your self revive. Out of these items, the most important ones are going to be a plate carrier system, at the minimum a 2-plate carrier, and a self revive. And you can get away with not having any of the other things. You can get away with not having a gas mask. You don't have to worry about that until the mid game to late game phase starts. You don't have to worry about a kill streak. You don't have to worry even about a medium or a large bag. You can definitely get started with a small bag full of plates and throw yourself into a team fight and have good chances. But if you don't have a plate carrier and you don't have a self revive, uh, that very first team fight that you're going to get into is going to be very tough. And because you have to think that you have to prepare yourself, um, that for the probability that whoever you're going to be fighting is going to have at least a better plate carrier system than you do, and may have the ability to revive themselves. So even if you're able to secure a down, you can't be sure that that's good enough, and that they won't be able to pick themselves up, much less have their teammates come over and pick them up. So, and if you are fighting without a self revive, you're also you're taxing your teammates. So you have to be even in a team, you have to be self-sufficient, and you have to be strong individually to enable your teammates to make the plays that they want to make um, advantageous rotations, pushes, and you don't want to force your team into a uh, into a premature retreat or into a defensive fight, just because you got yourself into a bad situation, or even if you were in a good position, if you got sniped, if you got outnumbered, having that ability to pick yourself up and reset that fight for yourself will enable your teammates to play around you and to play confidently um, as individuals within the team. So the most important parts of the regain, uh, that is, the most important things to have at the beginning of every match, is you're going to want to first secure at least a 2-plate carrier system, and ideally some kind of 3-plate specialty vest, whether that be a stealth vest, a comms vest, a medic vest, or a temper plate carrier, and a self-revive. So once you have your plate carrier and a self-revive, you can feel confident about um, your survivability and your ability to be offensive rather than defensive. And secondary to those core items is going to be what weapon you're going to be coming in with. And it's probably the case that many players may still not have, even if they're maxed out at level 1250, they still may have very little progress made in their passive upgrades and in their mission progress, which would give them competitive advantages. Like there's probably a lot of 1250 players out there that don't have any of their contraband cooldown slots, uh, any of their insured weapons slots, their cooldown timer is reduced. Um, they may not have a large wallet to play with, which helps you, buy gear off the bat, field upgrades, 2 or 3-plate carriers, and bags. Uh, they may not even have their specialty vests, the crafting system unlocked. And these things are, or at least they were, relatively straightforward to do and simple to do if you were objective minded, even as a solo player, but especially as a team. It's easy to get this stuff done, and I would encourage you to do so. You want to have those specialty craft, that crafting ability to make specialty vests by killing bosses, by doing these missions. You're not always going to be able to take the gear off of enemy teams. If you're starting off in a 1-plate and you're fighting a fully kitted team, that it's very, sometimes it feels insurmountable to do that. And especially if you don't have a coordinated team, if you don't have skilled players that you can rely upon in your party, if you're loading in with randoms a lot, if you're loading in solo a lot, you really have to be on your A game all the time and you have to be playing, beyond your normal capacity to be able to take down even 2 players, much less a full squad or a full platoon. So you really do need to be working on these passive upgrades and the ability to craft a vest, because the specialty vests are all these can be built in-game in Al Mazrah. Everything except for the tempered vest you can build. You can build a stealth plate, you can build a comms vest, and you can build a medic vest. And out of those 3, the medic vest is definitely the most powerful. And I'll go into reasons why later. But the tempered plate is craftable in other maps, like Ashika, but the easiest way to get it is actually in Koche Complex with just 1 acidic acid, and you can barter that at the regular buy station in Factory Admin. And I've done that many times before and many times on the channel, and I'll show that to you guys again. But that's how I got this tempered vest. I got it out of a Koche regain run, just solo, and the this is a really good mission to do, the increased starting armor. You won't get the full benefits of going to the third stage of this. You'll just never get that fifth plate for whatever reason. It's bugged out. So you'll only ever get the 4 plates maximum. So the 3 in your plate slot and 1 extra in your regular inventory slot. So you can just save yourself some hassle. Unless you're a completionist, just don't even bother with this third stage. You'll never get that 5th plate. And it took me a while to figure this out, but in order to get the armor box, you actually have to first unlock the rebreather. The rebreather is not a tool that you're going to be taking into a match intentionally, ever. But you do want to do that in order to unlock the armor box, and that is a very, very handy tool, especially if you're loading in with a team, even as randoms. One of your teammates is likely going to have a munitions box, and so you can be the guy. And if you're able to link up with people that have mics before you load into a match through the find a party system, or if you play with friends, you can be the guy that takes in the armor box and let your other 2 teammates take in munitions or whatever they like to use, AP rounds, what have you. Starting the game with some extra plates on demand is very powerful, because remember, you're not just fighting other people, you're also having to cycle through endless bots. So even if you don't run into anyone for the first half of the match, for the first third of the match, that first 10 minutes, you're still going to be fighting through an endless army of bots. So you're going to need those plates, whether you throw yourself into PvP or not. So the armor box is definitely worth it to unlock. These other upgrades, some of them are worth it, some of them are not. I would still like to get I like to do missions even though I'm nearly max level and there's really no point anymore, but I like to have missions just to have something to do, especially if I'm solo. But even if I'm with a team and we're PvPing, it's just something to focus on in the background. There's a lot of moments in the game where there's kind of dead time, and if you're having trouble finding other players to fight, it's good to have something to do. You always want to have 3 missions equipped, even if you're not going to do them or focus on them. It's good just to have them on there, just to give yourself some kind of sense of direction. Many times if PvP is on the forefront of your mind, you're always trying to move around the map, find new teams to fight, and one of the ways to get you moving and to give you some direction is if nothing is showing on the map, if you're not seeing any kill streaks dropping anywhere, if you're not seeing any UAV towers up anywhere, if you're not noticing any out-of-place vehicles, you can use your missions to kind of propel you into different POIs to look for items or those mission objectives, and that is another way to kind of find team fights that you otherwise wouldn't have, just by traversing the map. So yeah, some of these missions are, um, you know, increased contract payments always nice. You know, and I'm not sure if some of these are visible for you or not, depending on your progress. But the this is a very good one. The increased UAV tower duration. Um, so this will help you in a team fight or before a team fight. You'll have that UAV tower up for longer, and it'll also help for since the UAV tower will also attract other players that are not engaged in that team fight. Anybody on the map can see a UAV tower if they open their TAC map that's activated. You can use it also as a decoy, and so even if you're not actively fighting a team, or if you're trying to get out of a POI, if there's just too much going on, if there's third, fourth, fifth, and sixth parties that are, you know, breathing down your neck in the middle of a fight, and you need to get out of there, reset, hit a buy station, extract, or whatever, you can use a UAV tower as kind of a decoy to make other players believe that you're still in the area. So one thing you can do before you leave a POI is you can actually hit a UAV tower without the intention of trying to find anybody in the POI, and actually using it to draw other players into that POI. And you can catch them in transition. You can catch them as they're running or driving up to that POI. You can draw them into that POI that you've pinged a tower on, and use that opportunity to remove yourself from that POI and go to a different one. So, you know, the UAV tower has many uses, and just one of those uses is highlighting players that are, you know, within the radius of the UAV tower. So just something to think about. But getting back to the intention of the video, whether you're a mission doer or a hunter, you're going to want to set yourself up for future success, especially if you're, you know, uh, if you know you only have 3 insured slots. If you have all of them unlocked, if you don't have all of them unlocked, you definitely want to work towards that. Even if your only drive in the game is PvP, you're still going to need that utility of having, um, you know, of doubling and then tripling your combat effectiveness, with having weapons that you know how to use. You know their characteristics. You can build them out fully. You don't want to have to rely on the weapons of strangers or bot weapons to get you through. And so part of the regain is using your insured slots wisely, and I would encourage you to use them, to use like no more than 2 insured slots at each go around. If you have a bag, you can take in 3 weapons, but you always run the risk of running into the hand glitch, that is your primary weapon, glitching out and losing that. And what I actually do is, even if I have a bag and I have the ability to take in 2 weapons, you know, I right now I have the ability to take in 3 weapons, but I will not load anything into my primary slot to avoid that glitch, to avoid the hand glitch. I'll only load in my secondary and a weapon in my bag, and then just switch that to my hand when I load in the game. Um, so even if I have the ability to load in 2 weapons, uh, I'll I'll now only take in one insured weapon at a time. And if I so what that does for me is it gives me 3 raids to get my stuff together and to net uh, a successful exfil, rather than burning all 3 of my insured on one go, or burning, you know, 2 of my 3 weapons in one go. I'll now have, 3 raids rather than 1 raid or 2 raids, uh, to uh, to make it out alive. So, um, and then the other component to, besides your insured slots, you're going to have some contraband slots open, and that's definitely a passive upgrade that you want to work towards. You want to expand your contraband stash, your max contraband stash. That's going to be under passive upgrades, and then into weapons locker. And these first 3 are going to be um, these first 3 that are not paid for. This will be if you've bought the game. But these first 3 will be concerning your insured weapon cooldowns, and the last one is going to be your contraband stash. And let's see, it's been so long I forget what the base level contraband is, but let's say it's only like six slots or something. And if you work through all of this, you'll max it out without spending any money. You'll max it out to 40. And that's a very large difference. Uh, that's a huge advantage for you. Because if you're fighting a lot, or if you're trying to do missions and dying a lot, you're going to be relying on your contraband stash to get you through if you can't manage to get successful exfils going. And having 40 different weapons, or having 40 slots to fill up with whatever weapons you choose, whether that be enemy operator weapons, uh, or your preferred ground loot weapons, that's a lot of room to play with. And I have 32 out of 40 right now. It's not they're not all weapons that are built out correctly or preferred weapons. I do try to save preferred weapons, like weapon systems, but some of these are like let's see if we can open up. The Hemlock is an AR I like using, but a lot of people like to run the holotherm optic on their ARs or their SMGs, and I cannot stand the holotherm optic. It's the sight picture is bad. It's far too zoomed in. It messes with your sensitivity and your FOV. And the picture, when the holotherm is engaged, I find can be confusing. And unless you've tuned out your weapon min-maxed, it's the recoil, it'll bounce around a lot on you, and that tiny little crosshair sliver is just not a clear enough sight picture to get accurate shots on target, especially with the zoom level that it has. If you're playing with a higher FOV, I believe mine's at like 112 right now. I am running on a PS4, so um, anything higher than that is, I think, not advisable for a really um, for an old console or a low-end computer. You're just going to lose far too much in terms of uh, the size of figures in the center of your screen. Um, the warping that happens when you go to a super high FOV is it's going to make everything in the center of your screen a lot smaller, and you're going to have a very hard time hitting targets at distance like that. You do gain a lot in the periphery, and objects in your periphery are going to appear a lot larger, but the you know the center of your screen is where your crosshairs are, and that's where your ADS is going to be engaged. So I found that like 112 FOV is really at the maximum end of like a usable FOV for me on a PS4. Um, and so even though I have a bunch of weapons in my contraband, as you can see, I have a couple pistols here. I'm probably not. Those are going to be like my just bare like really. Those are like the dregs. I'm going to use those at the absolute last as a secondary, um, or as a primary if I exhaust absolutely everything. I've got a couple RPGs in here. I can. There are RPG bots every round in Al Mazrah in like kind of set locations, so you can always find an RPG and match. Uh, you don't have to save them. Uh, this happens when I have an SMG and an AR in my hands, and I like to grab some kind of launcher um, for clearing rooms or for anti-vehicle play, and I'll keep that in the backpack. So these are from successful extracts that I just happen to still have an RPG in my bag, um, and I'll hold on to them in case I don't have any jokers or something like that to bring in a backpack. Um, but those will I can easily just destroy those right now just to make some room for some more preferable contraband. Um, I have the rest of these are either ground loot or enemy operator weapons. Um, the Vel is one of the more popular SMGs. A lot of guys, you'll find Vels a lot on dead guys. They'll all be set up, wrong really, but um, once you get some playtime and once you get your your workbench unlocked and your passive upgrades to make that workbench even more affordable, you can start building out weapons in match and repairing them. Uh, so for example, this Rising Demon here, this is a paid for blueprint. Um, it may be on a 15-minute cooldown for DMZ. So this guy has a long heavy barrel on his Vel. Uh, he has a compensator, overpressured rounds, a 60 round mag, the largest mag, and a recoil rear grip. And really the only things I would want to keep on this would be probably just the compensator and the rear grip. And I'm probably going to delete everything else. I'm going to delete the heavy barrel to give me back some of that base mobility that the weapon has. I'm going to replace over-pressured rounds, either with armor piercing or hollow point. Um, and I'm going to replace the 60 round mag option with the 50 round mag option for better mobility. And the trade-off is worth it there. You know, those 10 extra rounds are nice, but I don't feel that you would want to sacrifice any more of your movement characteristics uh, with a huge heavy mag on something like the Vel. Even though it is a very high rate of fire weapon, you know, you're going to have those 10 extra rounds at the beginning of the game besides your ammo reserve of 150 SMG rounds. So, but the reason you're using an SMG is to is to be quick. You know, is to be a fast-moving target in tight spaces. Also it's also a movement tool. You're going to be running with your SMG rather than running with your sniper rifle, your launcher, or your AR. It's a lighter weight weapon, so it's going to give your character model more mobility, and you're going to be able to traverse uh, open spaces without cover more safely, and you're going to be a harder target to hit um, even at close ranges. You're going to be able to round corners quicker. You're going to be able to get through doors and windows quicker. You're going to be able to make jumps that you otherwise would miss with a heavier weapon. So I don't want to sacrifice any more of that mobility than I absolutely have to on a weapon like the Vel. So that's why I would bump that 60 round mag down to a 50 round mag. And these riot shields come from me crafting them in Koche Complex after unlocking the secure buy. And I started playing with the riot shield really as like I was doing some RP as a character in game, and I'll probably revisit that in the future because it is fun and it's entertaining. And it's just a new way to play the game. And I had never used riot shields before, and I found it very fun and challenging to try to use the riot shield. There's actually a very um, there's a lot of depth to this weapon, uh, and if you know, if you've never used it and you're kind of if you have a bad image of the weapon, uh, then I would actually encourage you to try it out, to start using it, to see, if only to give yourself a better idea of how to counterplay a riot shield user, um, to see what the capabilities are of the weapon. Um, there are many counterplay options. I mean, just in your lethal slot alone, you know, every single one of these, besides the throwing knife and the throwing star, is an effective counter to the riot shield. But most especially, you know, the thermite, the C4, the Simtex, the Molotov, and the drill charge. And you know, those are all throwables that you can stick a riot shield user with, and when you get a stick with those, that is a guaranteed break and a guaranteed down on the riot shield user, unless he's an absolutely cracked high level player who can quickly who's carrying the riot shield in their primary slot, and they're able to they have, you know, very good reaction time, and they're able to drop the riot shield briefly, run away from it, let whatever explosive you have detonate on it, and then pick up their riot shield again. But you know, I don't think I've ever run into that to that level riot shield player in a live game. I've only ever seen that in videos of guys that like kind of specialize in the riot shield. Those are like really high level players. It requires very good reaction time and decision making to be able to do something like that. And that would be something that I'd like to work towards, to be able to do that. But and I'll try to show you guys what that looks like in the future once I have some more time under my belt with the riot shield. But uh, anyway, so the regain is, so you want to be unlocking all your insured. You're going to want all of your insured to be on the shortest cooldown possible through passive upgrades, and you're going to want the largest contraband stash possible to work with. And I think that most guys, as hunters, if they're with a hunting party, they're probably you're gonna be dying a lot as a hunter. That's just the name of the game. You're gonna be going into a lot of team fights, losing a lot of engagements, winning some of them. But if you're a dedicated hunter, you're really bloodthirsty, and you're going after any fight that you see in front of you. And so, um, a hunter is going to first exhaust all of his insured weapons, and if he's smart, he's going to have a lot of contraband of his preferred weapon built of his preferred weapon types, and they're going to have you know the correct attachments on them to enable him to continue hunting. But that's probably not most hunters. That's probably not most players. Most dedicated hunters are probably not going to be mission guys. They're probably not going to be focusing on their passive upgrades, and they're definitely not going to be spending time outside of hunting parties to set themselves up for regains in the future. And so whether you're a hunter or not, you're going to want to be spending time outside of hunting raids to uh, to fill up your wallet with cash, and to fill up your contraband slots with your preferred weapons platforms in their preferred tuning. And so what I do is, like I've said before, if even if I have a bag, I'm never taking in all three weapons. I'm only ever taking in two, so that gives me the flexibility in match to pick up whatever other type of weapon system I need to use in the moment. And that's most often going to be a launcher for me. But it also gives me the ability to pick up dead guys' weapons, to take them out, and to use against them and other people in a future match. And so all of the weapon systems I have here, I'm going to be using in a hunting capacity in the future. And I do have a couple sniper rifles here, although I don't snipe anymore because I'm a console user, a very low-end console user. So, and I am a cross player, so I'll play against PC players. And you don't want to be in a sniper battle with a guy on PC as a controller player because he's going to have a much easier time lining up body and headshots on you. He's going to be able to do that much quicker than you would ever be able to do that, because you're going to be, if you're on a controller, you're most likely going to be using aim assist, and the sniper platforms actually disengage your aim assist. You do not have any aim assist when you're using a sniper platform. Um, so you don't have that built-in balance effect that the aim assist gives you as a controller player against a PC player. And PC players are often going to have, they're going to have hardwired connections. They're not going to be playing on Wi-Fi, and their hardware, their CPUs and GPUs and their graphics cards are going to give them competitive advantages against you. They're going to have um, lower latency, and they're going to have more information in the form of frames. They're going to have more, frames per second than you're going to have as a console player. So they're just going to have more information to draw from, which will enable them to make better tactical decisions and line up quicker shots on you, react faster, things like that. So, but all these other weapons are, you know, all the rest of my contraband stash is filled with SMGs and ARs, besides a couple launchers and a couple shields for um, more specialty use cases. And none of these weapons at the moment are set up completely to my liking. Um, so as a hunter, I'm going to be when I go into a regular play session with a couple trusted friends to form a hunting party. We're going to be um, using all of our insureds first, and then we're going to be dipping into our contraband stash once those are exhausted. And and I don't think a lot of hunters are doing this. I don't think they're actually um, going in outside of regular hunting sessions and going in solo or what have you, and doing anything in the form of a regain. Uh, and that's what most of my time is beyond. Besides hunting, I'm always regaining for future hunts as a solo, and I'm trying to pull out as much cash and preferred contraband as I possibly can to keep my contraband stash full, so that there is no downtime or wasted time waiting for your insured slots to come off cooldown. Um, if you're in a hunting party, usually guys are not going to want to do a regain with you. They're just going to want to continue to hunt and hope that they can, turn a bad session around by getting a good team fight in, or getting an exfil in. And if you're hunting a lot, you're probably rarely extracting successfully. Even if you're having a great game, you can always, that can always come to a screeching halt just with the very next team fight. Even if it's that you've wiped the map, you're going to final. Um, there's always the possibility of dying at final, or of misplaying somehow and killing yourself, or whatever. So um, that's kind of the hunter's dream, is to wipe the whole map, and then to survive a fight at final and to get out alive. And that's really that's although every hunter aims for that, um, you're you're rarely going to get that. That's going to be maybe one or two matches throughout an entire play session that is going to happen, and that's only if you can keep your act together for the entire raid. Um, all three of your team members are fully warmed. They have at least some kind of reliable weapon in their hands to make that happen. Um, so so your other teammates are not going to be wanting to, hey guys, let's we've been having a rough go of it. All of our insured are on cooldown. I don't have any great contraband to choose from, let's do a regain in Kosh, or let's do just like a cash run and dead drop some selfies, or open some safes or whatever. Um, they're not going to want to do that. They're going to, oh no, that's boring. Let's hunt. Let's kill some people. Come on, So they're not gonna probably do that in a regular play session. So it's going to be up to you on your own time to to do regains and build up your contraband stash, to work on your passive upgrades, that kind of stuff. So right now I have 8 free slots in my contraband stash, and so if I take in one weapon, which is what I'm going to do on any regain run, I'm just going to take in one weapon so that I can pull out 2 weapons with me, um, to add to my contraband stash. And so 8, 9, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 4, full regain runs, successful regain runs, um, and that's a whole play session right there. Just 4 runs trying to get 2 decent weapons out, only taking in one weapon as a solo. That's if I can string 4 uh, successful regain runs together, that's very, very good. But it's also, it's difficult to do. So you could be trying to fill up those 8 slots for a couple hours, even you know maybe even 4 to 6 to 8 hours. You can try to do that, and you'll be running into fully kitted teams, sometimes some glitchers and exploiters. So that alone is um, that's a lot of actually a, even though that's, you're thinking 8, only I've only got 8 slots that left, then I'll have a full contraband stash. That's a lot to ask of a solo player. um, and I'm not talking about just pulling out any, 0 attachment Vaznev, a a -2 attachment cast off 74U, a stockless, and a 20 round mag cast off 74U. I'm talking about, like, going for the high rise TAC 56, or going for the Chemist M13 Bravo, or finding really good 3, 4, or 5 attachment um, ground loot weapons in military lockers, on topside Maz or in Kosh. And that will take you some time to get to. If my goal is to get to a full, before I even go into a regular PvP session, like, especially like gearing up for like a weekend gaming session, Friday and Saturday nights, Sunday nights. Those are when still the most people are online and playing regularly. You know, um, you can spend the rest of the week, the rest of your free play sessions, gearing up for those 1, 2, or 3 nights on the weekend. Uh, 1, 2, or 3 gaming sessions of full PvP. The rest of the week you can dedicate to just building up uh, your your stashes to enable you to continue those PvP runs uninterrupted, without having to do any regains in the middle of a session, or at the end of a session. So that's what we're going to get into now. Is we're going to get into just a normal topside Maz PV or regain run, and this always has the possibility of going into a Kosh regain run, just because I'm running solo, and um, all the coach entrances are going to be on the north side of the map. So oftentimes if I do spawn on the north side of the map, especially at that desert airstrip or oasis or anything like that, or even downtown, even if I'm able to grab the tack from high rise, there's a coach entrance right there at parking garage, and so at the very least I can get that tack out of a topside Moz match, and go through a relatively safe exfil through Koche. And I never do the Koche glitch, or anything like that. I don't use any cheats or exploits or glitches of any kind. The only glitch I will do is the liquor glitch in Koch, and that's for just more cash to spend on at the beginning of naked runs for PvP topside Moz. And the liquor glitch in Koch is just bringing a bottle of liquor wherever you find it, whether it be in Koch itself or taking a bottle of liquor from topside Moz into Koch and dead dropping it at factory admin at the buy station, uh, and getting a note in return for that, and then selling that note several times over, um, to sometimes net you a very large cash withdrawal. Um, so that's the only glitch that I'll use. I don't like to exploit any other glitches, and I feel comfortable exploiting that glitch because just the state of the game is so broken, and it's very hard to be an honest player. Um, even if other people aren't cheating outright, if they're not using hacks, they're probably, glitching into the sniper's den. They're probably they may be using like an underbarrel glitch, whatever. They may be using, and this isn't a glitch. It's just more of an unbalanced OP weapon, but they'll be using one-shot shotguns, that kind of stuff. So you're going to be dying to those guys a lot. It's very difficult, even as a high-level player, to dispatch, especially cheaters, but just normal exploiters and glitchers. And I am not a high-level player, and as I said before, I'm playing on PS4. I'm a controller player, um, and I'm most likely going to die to a cheater or exploiter, and even if I'm fully kitted out, so a lot of my runs are going to be started naked, uh, so I'm going to use that cash to buy myself a 2-plate armor system and a medium bag and some an extra muni box and a full bag of plates. So if I'm going in naked, I'll take in either $10,000 or $20,000, and $10,000 is enough to get you at the very least a 2-plate armor system, some plates, and maybe a muni box or a 2-plate armor system, some plates, and 1 or 2 attachments for whatever ground loot weapon you have. So if you bring in an insured weapon or a contraband weapon, and you're going to rely on using a bot weapon as your secondary, one thing I'll do is I like to use the Vaznev, which you can find on very commonly on bots, and it'll come as a stockless Vaznev, so you can easily take that to a workbench, destroy that stockless option, get your stock back, get some aiming stability and recoil control back with the stock on it. It is a lightweight stock, so Um, it's not going to be weighing you down a lot. This is just a normal zero attachment Vaznev, and in this state, it's a very good weapon. All you would need to do from here is just throw on one attachment, the 45 round mag, and right there you've got a very strong SMG as a one attachment SMG. But as it comes from the bots, you're going to, unless it's like a tier 2 or a tier 3 bot, it's always going to come stockless like this, and this is just going to make your aiming stability and recoil uh, less manageable. It is going to give you better mobility, but and sometimes I'll run the stockless for a while until I can get to a point where I do have some breathing room. I can get to a buy and not only take off the stock but add a magazine. So this is in this configuration, it's a very good running tool, but it's not a great close range fighting tool, especially if you're fighting against a guy that has a 3-plate armor system. That those 30 rounds are going to translate into 15 rounds at a 50% accuracy, which is a very good accuracy rating to have under ideal conditions. And it's almost never going to be ideal. A gunfight, you're never going to have a guy standing still with his back turned towards you and allowing you to put all 30 rounds into his back. Um, you know, so this is a good running tool, but it's not a good close range fighting tool. And your SMG has to be both. It has to be both a mobility tool and a close range fighting tool. So if you're gonna, you don't want to add a 45 round mag to this thing and keep it as a stockless. Um, those are you're just going to be missing more shots basically. You're always going to want to delete that stockless mod, which gives you that very lightweight stock on there. You don't have to go for uh, like a heavy like AR stock on it, which will reduce your sprint speed most importantly. It'll also reduce your aim walking speed, which is a very important stat for an SMG. You want to be, even as you're locked into ADS, you want to be able to strafe at the highest speed possible, just to make the other guy work a lot harder to hit you. Um, and these other stock options are they're not worth it for what they are. Um, a lot of guys like to run the Otrezat stock or the Markiv on the Vaznev, and that's really not giving you much more than just the regular kind of bone stock that it comes with. It's not worth the trade-offs, I find. But that's an entire, the stock options on a Vaznev, I think is a waste of an attachment slot. And I think that you can get a lot more out of the other attachment slots. Like rather than wasting an attachment slot on a stock, you can use it on a laser, on a muzzle device, on an underbarrel attachment, or on an ammunition type. Because you always have to think about, you're always locked into having the best mag option possible, or the best sight picture possible. And that's another reason I run the Vaznev, is because the iron sight setup on it is very good. It's actually very, very clean. It's much better than the cast-off platform that it's based on. There's a lot more. There's a bigger window between the the rear sight offers you a bigger window, and there's a little bit more clear space around that front sight post. So you have it's harder to lose a guy in your own sight picture, even if you're using an iron sight um, with the Vaznev sight picture. Like if we go back to, just to show you what I'm talking about here, um, go to a cast off. Sorry, I'm going to go back one. So here's the Vaznev's sight picture. Just notice that relatively large diameter open space the between the rear sight and that front sight post, that space in between. And the cast off is, that opening is there for you to see the front sight post, but it's actually, you have less space. It's like this angled kind of space, so you have just slightly less um, to work with in that open sight picture. So if you can see, I can see a lot more of this target dummy's full chest with the Vaznev sight picture, and the cast-off sight picture is much more limited. That rear sight really gets in your way a lot more. So you can see it's angled here, so you're losing that much more. And you can see the bottom of the front sight post a lot clearer with the Vaznev. Here it is with the cast-off. Almost the whole bottom half of that front sight post is obscured, and you've got this like 45-degree angle on the left and right sides, and where the Vaznev is this full, is like a semicircle. It's like a U shape there, and so that will actually help you track a target, especially as they're moving, a lot easier, and especially at distance. Um, you know, and the maximum distance really for an SMG is somewhere between like 20 and 25 meters. You can hit, the target dummy down here at 30 meters, but you're going to be just missing that much more shots, and you would be better off, switching to an AR at that distance to try to get this guy. So, at 20 meters, you can see, really like 3/4 of this guy at 20, of this target dummy at 20 meters with that iron sight picture, and you see, roughly half of them. So you're losing, over 30% of that, of the target in your own sights. Um, and it's the same iron sight design, but it's just different enough to really make a difference, especially at the maximum range. Um, so, and the reason so that's a big primary reason why I like the Vaznev. It's a common weapon you can find anywhere. You can easily repair it from its uh, state as in a bot's hands by just deleting that stockless option, and you don't have to waste an attachment slot on your optic. You don't have to put a red dot on here. Um, that is a much better sight picture than the iron sight picture, but that's an attachment slot you're going to have to take away from somewhere else. You're not going to be able to put a specialty ammo type on it. You're not going to be able to put an extended mag on it, which is crucial. You're not going to be able to put a muzzle device on it, which would help your recoil. Same thing goes for your underbarrel attachment, whether it be like a vertical or an angled foregrip. You're not going to be able to put a laser on it. So, or a rear grip if you wanted a little, if you wanted to go that route. But in my opinion, it's a wasted attachment slot. And even though it's barely perceptible, it does matter. Your ADS time is actually slower, even with a very basic lightweight red dot sight versus any iron sight setup. So right here, a one attachment SMG is going to give you a lot more versatility and a lot more lethality than many other SMGs that have, much higher fire rates, that kind of stuff. The Vaznev is a relatively slow fire rate, but it's very, very punchy, especially in its intended distances. Within 10 meters or at a maximum of about 20 or 25 meters. Um, it's a very high damage weapon for its low fire rate. So, uh, so I think it's one of the best SMGs. For its iron sight picture, for its availability, it's very common, and for its punchiness. Those are the three best features of the Vaznev. And I'm going to take care of something real quick IRL, and I will be right back, and we'll jump into a regain run here. So don't go anywhere, stick around. I'll catch you guys very soon.